Chapter 19 of The Phantom of the Opera, entitled The Viscount and the Persian. The Persian, we learn, lives in a flat on the Rue de Rivoli. He tells Raoul that it's Eric who has taken Christine, not his brother. He offers to take Raoul into the cellars because he knows that's where Eric lives, but as they travel, it's required that they do not say his name. They have to refer to him as him or he. In Christine's dressing room, the Persian's servant Darius brings them a set of guns, and it's here that Raoul is a little confused by the Persian's allegiance to Eric. He can't figure out if he's a friend of Eric's or if he's out to get Eric, and the Persian doesn't want to reveal this information. He's just in a hurry to get things done. The thing that he does tell to Raoul is that he knows of Eric from his own country for reasons unknown at this point. The Persian springs a mechanism in the great mirror that Christine had disappeared at, and suddenly the two of them are lodged into the darkness of the opera. Chapter 20 of The Phantom of the Opera, entitled In the Cellars of the Opera. The two are now in the dark, and they go through a trap door which leads to a set of stairs which leads to a room where they encounter three bodies, one of whom is Montclair, the gas man. The other two are presumably his helpers. They are not dead. It looks as though they've been drugged. As they continue, the Persian insists to Raoul a very odd form of behavior, and that is to hold his arm in front of his face as though he's getting ready to fire a pistol, even though they're keeping their pistols in their pockets. It's a very odd request, but the Persian is adamant that Raoul performs this action at all times. They can hear people all around them as they're moving through the cellars, descending into the cellars, and it's at one point in one of the passages that the head of fire approaches them, and this is a very frightening moment for them because they can hear all this grating and sounds, a very loud sort of rumbling, but it's a soft kind of rumbling. The head of fire is coming at them, and then suddenly it gets so close to them that they have to stop, and the head of fire goes past them, and they realize that this thing, this head of fire, is chasing a bevy of rats. It is a figure who comes to be known as the Rat Catcher. Here they discuss a plan to rescue Christine. The Persian believes that Christine is in Eric's house. They find a spot with a narrow opening and they have to crawl through it. It's like a crawl space of some sorts, and the Persian believes this is how to get to Eric's house. From this point, they drop into a room. It's really dark, but they can barely see what's around them, and the Persian finds on the ground a kind of rope that he calls the Punjab lasso. On further inspection of their surroundings, the Persian realizes that he has not brought them to Eric's house, but instead he has gotten them trapped in a torture chamber. In these chapters, we're getting a good look at the Persian. He continues to be a mystery, but it's building up to something. He knows of Eric by name, and he refers to him as having been seen in his country, or he knows about him from his own country. But he doesn't really state whether or not they're friends, and in fact, he's willing to take up arms against him, and he calls him a monster. So the relationship between the Persian and Eric is amorphous at best. This trip into the cellars reveals the architecture of the opera house, and it is amazing what we are encountering with all these people running around and the levels that they are descending into. It is massive, it is huge. We do know that Christine had taken Raoul up potentially 17 stories upwards, and there's also this cellar activity which goes down 5 levels. It is massive, and yet what it is that the audience, whenever they come to the opera house, all they ever see is the theater. So it's kind of a motif on a enormous scale, in that the stage itself acts as a mask to the entire opera house. We don't know what's going on behind the scenes of this enormous place. We don't even know that it's this enormous, not to any audience member at least. It's kind of reflective of the whole mask motif, in that the mask hides what's underneath. The torture room and the Punjab lasso are important to understand because they represent the sadistic side of Eric's character. Though we've come to see Eric as a tragic figure whose actions up to this point seem to have been guided by love, we can no longer think of him as someone who deserves sympathy. He has taken Christine by force, and now, as the Persian has told us, it is possible that the Punjab lasso is the apparatus which has taken the life of Joseph Buquet.